We've got an agent. She's about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. She is in her late 70s, I believe. She wrote over 200 policies during the AEP, shipped with Grassroots marketing. She's only been
That's
in the
insane.
business about 3 years.
What would you say are like a couple of the things that maybe she does that has been really successful for her?
She will go and set up booths at like different arts and crafts.
Hey, before we get into the podcast, really quick, I want to tell you a little bit more about Medicare Masterclass. Medicare Masterclass is a training platform specifically for agents who want to sell more Medicare. And it's built by a Medicare agent named Ashley Van Gundy, who consistently writes over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. So I'm going to say that again, over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. And she doesn't run a massive team. She has a really great sales process and her marketing is dialed in. So what does Medicare Masterclass include? Exactly how to do that and much more. So you have the 7-step talk path to show you exactly what to say. And then you'll also have lead generation mastery to show you how to dial in your marketing and have more leads than minutes in the day. So if you want to sell more Medicare, this is the best training available on the market. To enroll, go to MedicareMasterclass.com. Let's get back into the podcast. Today's episode is going to be huge. If you're a new agent and you're looking for ways to get ahead of the game, if you're looking for ways to market, if you're looking for resources, if you're looking for people to talk to go to, this is going to be an episode that is truly valuable. Today, we have with us Brandon Riles. Brandon, how are you?
Just happy to be alive.
Absolutely. That's the best thing about every day, that you wake up, you're just there in the moment. Nothing's better. Cool. So we'll get into a little bit of your background, Brandon. We'll talk about how you got into insurance. We'll talk about some tips and tricks that you know of and what you do on a day-to-day now. So we'll start with what you were doing before you got into the Medicare industry, because if I remember correctly, the first time we spoke, you have an interesting transition from what you were doing to Medicare. So touch on that for the audience.
Well, prior to getting into the Medicare industry and insurance in general, I worked in the phosphate industry down there in Central Florida. Phosphates used to make fertilizer. I worked at
It was.
like a 35,000 acre phosphate mining facility. Did that for
Wow.
almost 20 years.
Wow.
Just kind of got sick of the time that I had to spend out there. Awesome career, just not very conducive for a family life. And I've got 2 young kids, so just finally said enough. Pretty much bought a house sight unseen on the internet and packed up everything and moved to Tennessee. And
Yeah.
here we are. I got my Florida 220 license prior to moving, and just kind of stumbled upon what I thought was a small insurance agency that's 4.5 miles from my house that is actually a very large agency. And
Right.
been here ever since, loving every minute of it.
Wow. Awesome. So phosphate, what was that life like? I mean, was it long hours? Was it kind of like a dangerous job? And how was the transition to insurance? Because it can be long hours, but I'm sure it's a little
It
different.
was long hours, swing shifts, so I never knew if I was going to be up at midnight or, where I was coming or going. On call a lot. You don't know from one day to the next if you're going to be on night shift or day shift. Dirty. You're always sweaty. You got mud all over your boots. Not necessarily the lifestyle that I pictured myself in, but it was a good lifestyle. I mean, I was able to provide a very nice living for my family, but I just knew it wasn't going to be a forever type thing. I saw so many people that had kids that were grown up that they had no relationships with just because they were never around. I just swore I wasn't going to do it. So timing was kind of right. I had enough with Florida, and we took a vacation up to Blue Ridge, Georgia. Weren't even back in Florida. My wife told me she wanted to move to the mountains. So it was less than a
That's
month.
nice.
Yep. It was less than 6 months later, we were living in Tennessee.
Wow.
So I have to know, okay, sight unseen. You see this on like HGTV where they like buy this house and then they're like, I gotta sell it, I got it sight unseen. But how did that turn out for you? Did it all work out, or were you surprised with what you saw when you showed up?
Well, up here we had a lot of people from different states moving. We got in right at the beginning of COVID. So we had to not get the type of home that we really wanted. We ended up with an older home that needed some repairs, but it wasn't a train wreck. It wasn't a disaster. It's still a nice home. We still love our home. We're looking to buy something a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer now that the economy's kind of changing. But it hasn't been a horror story or anything like that.
Well,
Everybody up
that's
here
good.
is just so nice and so just a quaint little area.
Awesome. Cool. So you moved to Tennessee, come from the phosphate industry. What made you, were you looking to get into insurance, or did it kind of just happen to end up that way? Like, how did you end up at this, what you thought was a small agency, turning out to be
Well,
something different?
kind of a weird story. I've got a cousin that's been in insurance on the PNC side for 35 years. Are super close. We've always talked about it. Um, and I just saw that I could do it just by getting a state license. Now, what I
Right.
didn't know is that the state license is much harder to get in Florida than it is in most other states. So I think it was like 260 hours of training to get my 220, whereas in the state of Tennessee, it's 60 hours for the equivalent license.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd have
Wow.
waited to take it, but I knew coming up that's what I wanted to do. It'd be good hours, a good living, and be able to create a nice lifestyle. And I did a small stint with State Farm, kind of realized that wasn't for me, and then just walked into this office here with a pair of shorts on one day, and the owner called me 30 minutes later and said, "Hey, can you come back in an hour?" I was here for 4 hours for an interview, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my 220 license as well in Florida, and I failed it the first time. I'm not gonna lie, getting licensed, failed it, and the way it worked out, I had like literally just enough money to retake the test, and then I passed it and was able to get it done. But cool. So you showed up. Did you walk into the office expecting to get the job there? I mean, you showed up in shorts, or how did that play out?
This office is right down the road from where I work, and they've got a big billboard outside that said hiring insurance agents. So I just walked in, wanted to get an application to fill out and drop off. Filled it out on the spot, handed it to the office girl, and Casey called me or shot me a text message just a few minutes later and asked me to come back in about an hour. He'd be in the office. And I pull up and he's wearing shorts and a Hawaiian t-shirt. And I mean, it's just real chill, real laid back around here. He told me, now this is a true story, he told me when he hired me that everybody here is like a family. And everybody knows when an employer says that, it's code word for this is a very toxic environment. And it has not been that.
Wow.
That's cool.
Awesome. Cool, cool. So what do you do now? Explain your role at this agency, because I know that you help a lot of people, and it's a crucial role to play that you have there.
Okay, my role is senior agent advisor. A lot of people call them marketers in the industry. We are a very large FMO. So I help agents get contracted. I help them with marketing plans. Um, we do everything from help them set up for retirement. We've even bought a couple of agents' books of business. We teach them the business side of it as well. So you'll get agents that'll come in, and there's a couple different ways you can contract with the carrier. You can contract direct, just as, an independent agent, or you can contract the agency, and from there you can actually build downline agents. And that's when you start getting into overrides and actually building something. But if you don't do it right the first time, it's going to be a nightmare getting it straightened out to do it, to actually have a downline. And that's what I help
Right.
with. Anything from Earlier today, I was helping somebody set up a Facebook account so they could market on Facebook. We'll help with mailers, actually designing the postcards, websites. I've gotten phone calls when an agent's actually sitting at the dinner table with a client. They've got questions about things. Instead of calling a carrier where you may sit on the phone for 2 hours, they can call me and I can get the answer a lot quicker. We've got contacts with all the broker managers and have people's cell phone numbers. So a 2 hour task for just a small agent is a 5 minute task for me. And that's where we help out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So how closely, obviously I know you just dove into it a little bit, but how closely and how long do you work with the agents that come to you guys? Is it a career long thing, or is there a ramp up period and then they kind of branch off? How does that work?
No, it's the whole time they're with us. If they have we've got two different sections. We have your truly independent section, and then we do have an LOA division. We have a little bit different of a model for new agents. They can join our career agency, and then after 2 years, we'll give them their whole book of business and let them go independent. But as long as they have contracts with us, they can call me and I'll help them. That's kind of what sets us aside when they're not just calling a 1-800 number. They're calling an actual advisor that will be with them every step of the way, and that's just the big thing with us.
Yeah. Do you get agents that were independent in the beginning and then came to you guys?
Well, when they come to us, they're still independent. We just help them get
Right.
contracted. We can help them out on the marketing side. We can offer marketing money. That's what a lot of, especially the smaller, newer agents don't realize. We can cut them a check for every policy that they write for marketing money to help them grow.
Right.
Spoke with a guy today, super green. He's got a life insurance background, but doesn't know anything about Medicare or any of the ancillary products. And his FMO just wasn't doing anything for him. So all it took was a 5 minute conversation on how we can help him brand himself, help him with the right leads, what he needs to do, give him some ideas on some actual grassroots marketing. And then from there, we can even put more money in his pocket with the marketing money so he can send out mailers if that's what he wants to do, or build a website or buy leads. But a lot of these agents just don't understand the money's out there. You just have to ask for it.
So on the leads, do you have any places that you would recommend to people just starting out, or maybe they're seasoned but they want to get into working leads? Like places you would recommend to get them from, or where to source like good leads?
A lot of it's going to be regional. Leads Co's been halfway decent. Medicare Express has been halfway decent. I always kind of tell people it's best to look at their uplines because the FMOs get discounts on it. And that's one of the things with us. We have discounted leads. We can get true preset appointments. You walk in, these people have some type of problem, whether their agent has passed away or is not answering his phone, or they're new to the area, or they're just turning 65. But they have a reason for you to be there. So you send them out there, and it's about 80% chance they're going to sell it when they get there. They're a little costly, but once you get them flowing, they're great.
And what are those ones called?
It depends on where you're at. You get a bunch of them.
Okay.
You can get them through Medicare Center. Leads Co has some, but the preset appointments are just one of the ones that we really like.
Preset appointments. So it's basically they got it scheduled and you're just the agent that's gonna deliver. That's really cool.
Yeah, they'll have a signed SOA in hand. All their calls prior to you showing up have been recorded, and you have like an
Dang.
agent portal, so you can actually get in there. So let's just say you show up and the person says, "Hey, well, I never talked to anybody." You can actually pull up the conversation.
That's
kind of a
awesome.
yeah, it's kind of a game changer.
For sure.
Gotcha.
When you're kind of touched on grassroots marketing, What do you feel like are the things that you're seeing having the most impact in like the community and like working with the agents that you're working with?
Volunteering,
Yeah.
going to food pantries, just getting your name out there. I don't necessarily advise going and setting up a booth at first, but go to a church, talk to them. Hey, what can I do to volunteer and help you guys out a little bit? Go bring some canned foods to help out a little bit, just interact with the people. Your citizens will remember that stuff. So when it comes time,
I
you'll get that.
totally agree with that.
Yeah, you have to have your name out there in the community. First thing I do when I talk to an agent is I'll Google his name in the city and state he's in. And if he's not within the first two or three that pop up on Google, there's a problem. He's not doing something right.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I mean,
you've got a lot of agents that think they can walk into this industry and make six figures just by working remotely, not buying leads. And that's just not the case. You got to get out there and pound the pavement and talk to people. Um, Go to dialysis clinics. Most of your states have an ESRD plan out there. Get contracted with a company that's got an ESRD plan and go to a dialysis clinic. Talk to them, say, hey, I can help your people not have to pay for this every week. And when you can save somebody $2,000 a week on dialysis, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a home run. I mean, you can go to some of the kidney foundations and talk to them, and if you can get in touch with the right person, they'll refer a lot of business to you. You just have to be able to go out there and work it.
I think too, like what you were saying about like volunteering, and it's just kind of like your approach to it has to be different than just like salesy, right? Like a lot of these individuals are, whoever they're working with is kind of like, they don't want to just have someone come in and sell them stuff. But if you come in really coming to like help, then all of that stuff just comes naturally moving forward. So I really agree with that.
The most money I ever made was years ago when I was really young. I worked with a pest control company, and a little old lady had an issue with termites, and I told her not to do anything with it. Just leave it alone. The house will still be there, when you're dead and gone. Just leave it alone. Well, she fussed and fussed and fussed at me and wanted it done. So I went ahead and did it for her and told her just to make payments to me. The lady had nothing. Well, about 2 months later, her grandson called me. Her grandson was some type of project manager for KB Homes down in Central Florida, and I ended up getting a huge contract with KB Homes just because I was trying to be nice to a little old lady.
Oh,
yeah, relationships are big. I mean, and that's what one of the other guests we had on here, he crushed it at sales, and that's what he said the same thing. He's like, I tried dialing people and it just didn't really work. Like I had to go out into the field and, make action happen. So yeah, I think that's crucial. That's crucial.
Yeah, we're not huge on anybody that wants to do this remotely. The Medicare market, if you want the business to stick and stay on the books, you've got to be out there face to face with these people. One of the best ways to get business is when you find somebody that's Medicaid eligible and they don't even understand it, they don't know it. If you can walk them through that process, write them a dual plan, they're going to call you for absolutely everything. We get a little bit of foot traffic here, and we have an agent that is known for helping people with the Medicaid and different LIS. And lady was in one day, wrote a policy. Lady came back the very next day with her next door neighbor.
Wow.
yeah.
Awesome.
So if
So
you
what do
help
you
these
see,
people and-
Go ahead.
what's that? Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so what do you think when someone's first getting into the industry, there's a lot to kind of take on when you're trying to be an insurance agent, but what do you think people struggle with most? Like, is it marketing? Is it sales? Is it getting out of their comfort zone? What exactly are they having issues with, and how do you help them with that?
Marketing, 100%. Actually getting themselves in front of people. That's what I see people struggle with most. Second would probably be product knowledge, but
Right.
product knowledge is easy to overcome. Lack of marketing, lack of ambition to get out there and market themselves, that's hard to overcome. I've had a few agents that call me, they want help, but they don't want to get out and do anything. Um,
Right.
Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. If you're not willing to get out there and go to those 55 and up communities and talk to people or volunteer your time down at Salvation Army or go set up a booth in the mall, whatever it may be, if you're not making an effort yourself, nobody's going to be able to help you unless you just want to buy hundreds of thousands of dollars in leads. But the average agent can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first successful year, I pretty much just told myself that I'm going to do everything. And if something's not hitting, then something else is. And so I was doing booths, I was doing Medicare 101s, I was volunteering, I was doing grassroots marketing, I was doing paid marketing, I was just doing literally everything. If it was an opportunity, I was taking advantage of it because sometimes, yeah, maybe no one would talk to me at my booth that day, but then, 8 people showed up at my Medicare class. So it's just always if you have multiple, you can't just count on, leads or just one thing. You've got to diversify and really put yourself out there.
We've got an agent, she's about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. She is in her late 70s, I believe. She wrote over 200 policies during AEP, shipped with Grassroots marketing. She's only
That's
been in the
insane.
business about 3 years. Yes, this lady, I love her to death, but she calls me probably 5 times a week. And
Yeah.
it's always a new idea, a new something. She is a hustler.
She's definitely not retired, that's for sure.
No, she's retired from some other company, just jumped into Medicare on a whim, and she has been absolutely crushing it. I wish I had 100 more agents just like her. She's got that motivation, and that's what a lot of people lack.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. 70 years old, crushing the game.
Did you say
That's-
late 70s or 70?
Late 70s.
Oh, that's even better. I got to talk to this woman. I got to know. What does she do? What's her routine? How many energy drinks does she drink?
Oh, we
Um,
do a big AEP meeting. We do it every year. It's for all of our agents. If you've wrote one piece of business with us throughout the year, we will fly you in and put you up in a hotel. It's just,
Oh, wow.
there's an old historic hotel here that's beautiful. We rent out pretty much the whole thing. And 2 years ago was the first year I met her. And she, she she's just bouncing around everywhere. She's got more energy than anybody I've ever seen. She's just the sweetest person in the world. She is very punctual and very factual. She wants to know exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. I mean, she's not your
Real deal, man.
She is. I would half of her motivation.
What would you say are like a couple of the things that maybe she does that has been really successful for her?
She will go and set up booths at like different arts and crafts festivals, and she'll get permission to contacts while she's there and just hand
Right.
out flyers. And then when it starts getting close to AEP, she'll start calling all those people. And that's what
Wow,
really helped
that's
her this year.
smart.
I think she had, I forget the exact numbers, but she got like 75 permission to contacts from one little festival she did. And then I think she ended up, out of those, wrote 50 policies. And that was just from
Dang.
a weekend long festival. But she was playing the long game. She wasn't looking for that immediate thing. And that's where a lot of agents lack. They don't want to do anything up until right before AEP.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
they would take vacations and just sit around. And you've got so many other things you can do. Dual market, they can change 4 times a year. Chronic market, you can change them anytime. And nobody's trying to focus on that.
Yeah.
So true. I even see it where people get the permission to contacts and they don't ever even reach out to them. So it's like sometimes a lot of it's that follow through, and then when you think you're done, do it again, again, and again. And you've really got to, like, it's not just do this and then you're going to write 200 policies during AEP.
Yeah, nobody wants to follow through anymore. I've got a few heavy hitters that uh, they're going to call you every day until you tell them not to. And then I've
Yeah.
got some that if good business was thrown at them, they'd walk the other way. So
Wow.
it kind of goes back to that motivation and, like you said, follow through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to me how agents, I mean, and I've went through it as well, but I think at a certain point there's just a switch that flips. But call reluctance, like at this point, I got into insurance when I was 19 and I didn't even know, I was just telling Ashley this, I didn't even know I had insurance. So the idea of calling someone about insurance terrified me. I'm like, what am I going to say? What if they ask me a question that I don't know? Most of these people have 30 years of life on me. Like they know more than I could learn. But once you do it enough times, like there's just something I feel like, I don't know, because I can't really pinpoint it. But at a certain point, it was just like, just call them. Like all the pressure kind of went away.
Yeah.
Like,
Just call the leads.
yeah.
And if you get
It's just,
stumped, just tell them, I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to give you the wrong answer, but I'll find that right answer and get back with you. And I've never had anybody fault me for saying that.
100%.
yeah, you just got to get started. I think that I struggle with that, and I feel like I'm outgoing, but I just literally have to be like, okay, you're doing it now. And then once I get into it and you have like some wins, it's like you build this moment and you just want to keep going. So yeah, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
The only thing, just get out there and do it. Most of these people, you were going to know more about insurance than them. So even if you don't know the answer, they're still going to be amazed at what you do know.
Yeah.
Just get a little bit of motivation, call them, and it's all downhill from there once you pick up that phone.
Yeah.
Have
I
you?
tell, well, really quick, I tell producers all the time, I'm like, you're the one that took the licensing exam. Like, you're the one that studied. You do the continuing education. You know the sales process. Like, you know everything. And these people, they don't really know not anything, but like the stuff that they do know. It's like with P&C insurance, it's a little unrelated, but with comprehensive and collision coverage, I gotta tell people over here, I'm like, you know exactly what this is. You got the license. They don't even know the difference between comprehensive and collision. So like there's nothing to be afraid of. Like you got this. You have to be a figure of authority. And I wish I could remember who said this, but someone had told me like when you have to start viewing yourself as the status of like a doctor or a dentist. Like when you set an appointment with a doctor, if you're not going to show up, you have to call that doctor and let them know and reschedule. Like there's a whole process because they're a figure of authority. They're a little higher status. And when I started viewing it that way, that really helped me as a producer. But Ashley, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, have you ever had like an agent that maybe wasn't doing very good at all, and then you've seen like a turnaround, and then where they started doing or excelling? Have you had any agents like that before?
Yeah, we've had a few that they were literally scared to pick up the phone. They were scared to market. What I ended up doing is reaching out to one of my carrier reps. Are you guys familiar with Devoted? They're kind of regional.
Yes.
Okay, love Devoted. They're absolutely amazing. Well, we had one of their community liaisons go out and set up a booth with this agent. And once he had somebody there literally holding his hand, it changed absolutely everything for him.
They gave him that confidence.
Mhm. Yeah, he just, I guess he just needed that reassurance that he actually did know what he was doing. And I don't know, he got probably 15, 20 permissions to contact that day and then actually
Wow.
called him. And that was just kind of that pivotal moment where he realized, okay, I think I do know what I'm doing. But prior to that, he was trying to live off of just Facebook ads. and it
Mm.
just
Oh
wasn't
wow.
cutting it for him. I mean, he just kind of wanted to do everything over the phone, but once he got out there meeting these people face to face, it's, and I guess I can understand if you've already talked to somebody and got that out of the way when you're getting the permission to contact, when you pick up the phone to call them, it's a little bit easier. Hey, you remember me? So that was kind
Yeah,
of that pivotal moment for him.
cool.
Yeah, I remember like my first time like starting out, I was definitely very reluctant to like do a Medicare 101 or to do these certain things. And then once I saw a mentor of mine do it, I was like, okay, I can do that. And I just started going for it. And it does make a difference. Like once you do it once, you can like, hey, okay, I made it through. And then you build that confidence just to
Yeah,
keep doing it.
it's all about confidence in everything we do. Once you have a little bit of confidence, you're fine. Um, you know the information prior to having the confidence, but once you have that confidence, you can do anything.
100%. So you had a woman in her late 70s do 200 policies in AAP. Was there anybody that beat her this last AAP? Like, was there anybody that just crushed it?
We've got a guy out of Arkansas. Now he's an agency owner. He's got, I want to say 40 downline agents,
Wow.
and this agency owner did over 300 apps
Wow.
Wow.
and took care of
40
all the
agents.
downline agents. Hmm.
Interesting.
He's absolutely crushing it. Hell of a guy to talk to too. Super nice guy. Doesn't have that ego or that big head. But yeah, he just crushed it this year. We had a few agents, triple what they did the year before.
Wow.
How long has he been in the business?
He's been doing it probably 20 years. He came from
Oh,
the
wow.
life and annuity side of the world. We're getting a lot of what I'm seeing anyways is a lot of people that were on the life and annuities retirement planning side that are starting to realize that those types of policies pay out up front,
Hmm.
but now what do you do when it's time to retire? So
Hmm.
they want to get into Medicare. They want to start writing some policies and then have some of that residual income to retire on. And I think that's what he had done.
Yeah.
But he still writes some killer annuities too. I personally feel like that's a big part of this industry. The Medicare side's nice, but you got to have a little something for everybody, whether it be final expense, hospital indemnity, um, disability insurance. There's so many things out there that you can help people when you really learn them. You can take somebody that's been on a med sup for 10 years and it's the rate increases have kind of priced them out of it and get them a Medicare Advantage plan and then write them a nice hospital indemnity plan. It's like copay insurance. And instead of paying
Right.
Yeah.
$600 a month, they're paying $80 a month. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. You just got to know your products to be able to do it and have the motivation to go out there and talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can be a full service agent, I mean, nothing beats that. And I think there's a statistic out there somewhere where the more policies somebody has with you, the longer they're going to stay with you. So,
If you
um,
have 3 or more policies in the household, it's a 70% chance, I think, that you'll keep them over 10 years. I think
yeah,
of what the
Wow.
numbers I saw, but it's 3 or more policies.
yeah. I knew it was something crazy like that.
It's not
But
hard to do. Go out to a husband and a wife. Husband retired. Uh, you're writing him a Medicare plan. Wife's not old enough to retire, but she's been a stay-at-home mom her whole life. What's she got to do? You write her an ACA plan until she's old enough for Medicare, and then a small final expense policy, and those are clients for life.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Cool, cool. So, what would you, let's say I'm a newer agent, right? Just got my license. I come to you, I'm like, Brandon, I want to crush it, man. I want to turn this into a career. I want to retire doing this. Where should I start? What should I focus on?
You're going to open an LLC. You're going to actually open an agency. Um, you're going to start learning. We're going to set you up with some different training platforms, get you knowledgeable on the product. and then we're going to talk about marketing. Marketing's a little bit differently depending on where you're at. We're not going to market the same way in rural Tennessee as we would in a larger city like Atlanta, Georgia. But you kind of need to get your name out there one way or another, whether it be Facebook ads, LinkedIn, whatever. And then from there, just start beating the streets. You can talk to a lot of your carrier reps. A lot of your carrier reps will help you. They'll say, okay, well, we've got a booth at this upcoming event. Why don't you come out with us?
Right.
And then you just go out just every day, 7 days a week, if you're wanting to absolutely crush it. Once you've got a real firm footing, now it's time to start recruiting agents. And now you're actually going to build a team. And that's how you really get into seven figures in the Medicare industry. It's with a team.
Wow. Yeah. And that sounds like a game plan to me. I might have to contract, man.
It can be done. I see it done every single day.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, Ashley, if you have any more questions, or Brandon, if you have any closing thoughts, I mean, this episode, I think, is going to be a little shorter than the previous ones, but very impactful. Very impactful. I mean, you gave actionable items. You gave real marketing tips. Like, it's funny because going through the show, like, you're a calm, cool, collected guy, but everything you're saying is just like, it's stuff that people can watch this episode and turn around and do. Like, they can call their carriers and ask for marketing dollars. They can go to these different events that you've spoke of. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, on the marketing dollars, go to your upline, talk to your FMOs. Some FMOs, some of the bigger ones, they don't want to give you anything. We've got certain carriers that will write you a check for $100 for every app that you write. You know, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
We have different agents that were at the end of the year, we're 1099 in them for, $15,000 and $20,000 in marketing money that we paid out through the year. Just, it's all production based. If somebody's trying to get into it, talk to a couple different FMOs. Don't talk to the first person that is willing to get them contracted, because anybody can contract you. But what are they going to do on the back end? When they need something, who do they call? Is it going to be a different person every time? That's not what you want. You want to talk to the same person every time. When an agent calls me, if I cannot help them right on the spot, I can either go into Casey Lilly's office, who is one of the co-owners, or I can go on the other side of the building to his wife's office, Denise. And 100%, one of them will be able to help me on the spot, get whatever it is figured out, handle any problem, or point us in the right direction.
Right.
You really have to have a team behind you. Some of these agents feel like they don't want to deal with the FMOs just because you have some bigger ones out there that have treated people poorly. So they go and they get contracted direct to the carrier. That's not always the best thing, because you're just one little peon in their world, and they're not going to want to help you with marketing money. Your broker manager, a lot of them aren't going to call you back for 3 days when you have an urgent issue for somebody and you need an answer on the spot. So you really just got to make sure you've got a good team behind you that's going to be there for you and help you.
I have one more question. So, have you had or seen any creative marketing things that are maybe a little bit outside of the box that people had success with?
I'm trying to think. I've got a weird one and had a little bit of success with it. Guy came from the financial planning side. He's single. He's in his upper 60s. His big focus is not on Medicare. But he drives for Uber, and he keeps a little clipboard in his vehicle that's got all of his information, and it's a permission to contact form. And he has written Medicare, ACA policies, and annuities from doing that.
That's so smart, because you think in Vegas, right? They got the thing, you're getting marketing while you're sitting in there. So, yeah, it's like, hey, if you need a part-time job, Uber, and put your info in the back. And a lot of the clients that are, taking taxi rides or Uber are a lot of times seniors or people on disability. So That's really cool. Love it.
Yeah, that was one of the different ones. And at first I was like, man, I don't know if that's going to be the best idea. And then I really analyzed it and I was like, it's perfect. You've already got people sitting in there. Give them something to look at. What's the
Yeah.
worst they can say? No.
Yeah, and you don't even have to ask. It's just doing all the talking for you.
Yep. I mean, he wrote, I think it was $100,000 annuity off of it.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Wow.
Just from having the flyer sitting on a clipboard in the back seat of his car. And the flyer wasn't anything special. I did it for him in Canva in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Canva is such
Asking,
an underrated
putting the
tool.
energy out there.
Yep. Yep. There's
Cool.
different ways.
Awesome.
So you guys were asking me a little while ago about the green screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
We have a pretty much full production studio down here in the basement in our office. Our office is an old bank, and
Wow.
unfortunately, it's not being utilized like it should right now. But I've got some big plans for the future.
To hold lots of money. No.
Yeah, there's actually there's two big vaults here that are still in the
No
building,
way.
still working vaults.
That's cool.
One of the doors, I forget what they told me it weighed. It was something like 4,800 pounds. It's like a 9-inch thick, solid steel door.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it makes me think of I mean, there's been a million Fast and Furious movies, but the one where they break in to that big safe and they have to analyze the fingerprint scanner and it has like 11 different locks or whatever. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, this one's not that high tech, but it's got a little switch in there for ventilation. So if somebody was to actually get locked in there, they could hit it and it would recirculate air from outside back in there because the whole vault's actually airtight.
Oh, that's reassuring.
We actually
Yeah.
store all of our enrollment kits and enrollment books in there. We have a lot of local agents, so we'll get a couple hundred enrollment books just sent to our office. That way, anytime an agent needs something, just swing by and pick them up.
Oh, that's great.
Take them to the vault.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, cool. So if people want to get a hold of you, Brandon, how do they do that?
Best way is by email. It's Brandon@UnitedAgentResources.com.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Any last questions, Ashley?
Not at the moment, no. I think that was my last one.
Okay. Cool, cool. Well, thanks for coming on here, Brandon. This was very impactful. Like I said, I mean, it was not the longest one, not the shortest one, but a lot of actionable items, which is what we're looking for. We're not really looking for people that are going to brag and boast, but people that are going to give advice on actually how to do stuff. So we appreciate that.
No problem. It's a lot of your newer agents really need to hear a lot of this stuff. That's kind of why I like what you guys are doing, trying to help the agents and get information out there. There's just so many ill-informed people in the Medicare side of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's all she wrote, folks. Remember,
Alrighty, well, y'all have a good one.
I want to tell you a little bit more about Medicare Masterclass. Medicare Masterclass is a training platform specifically for agents who want to sell more Medicare. And it's built by a Medicare agent named Ashley Van Gundy, who consistently writes over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. So I'm going to say that again. Over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. And she doesn't run a massive team. She has a really great sales process and her marketing is dialed in. So what does Medicare Masterclass include? Exactly how to do that and much more. So you have the 7-step talk path to show you exactly what to say. And then you'll also have lead generation mastery to show you how to dial in your marketing and have more leads than minutes in the day. So if you want to sell more Medicare, this is the best training available on the market. To enroll, go to MedicareMasterclass.com.